Pa' mi gente, el original, el papá de los demás. Y pa' que no les quede duda, se los voy a deletrar. Soy el Gr1zzly, soldado mexicano al grito de guerra. Porta Loki, Witch, la Gr1zzly, que a mí me vale verga. El mexicano es tan chingón, él escoge donde nace. Güero, ojos verdes, pero mi chica es mi sangre. Una fuerza imparable, la verdad innegable. Ese soy yo. Now let me welcome everybody to the Grizzly Show. Ok, mi gente, bienvenidos a todos ustedes a esto que es su podcast favorito de la ciudad más fabulosa del mundo, para todo el universo. Esto es el Grizzly Show. Muchas gracias otra vez por acompañarme. Hoy vamos a tocar otro tema prohibido, uno de esos temas que cuando eres amigo o familiar son temas muy sensibles. Politics ha dividido no nomás a familia, pero sí a países, y ha causado muchas guerras. In my personal opinion, the way that the politics are run in this country specifically was something that gets real normalized as you're growing up. We always grow up with that two-party system. You know, once I became more aware of worldwide politics and that democracy was not the only way that countries were ran, I kind of started thinking that maybe two parties were not enough. You know, I got into that late teen stage, you know, where you start thinking about college, you start thinking about things like this, you start thinking about more like free thinking, you know, not so much what you've been taught. I got really into communism. You know, I got really into Che Guevara, Marx, Lenin. And honestly, that system didn't work either, you know. But today, I have a very special guest. To me, it's an honor to have him here. I appreciate this person for their perspective and their thoughts. And obviously, thoughts and perspectives vary. And I appreciate this person for being here today. Mi compa, Cesar Flores.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invite. Thank you. I feel honored to be on the show. Thank you. And really, honestly, like, thank you for picking me to actually have this, podcast about politics. Because, I mean, we all know politics is a delicate subject, like Absolutely. You mentioned, right? Mm-hmm. And not a lot of people can have a discussion or talk about politics without, you know, getting mad at each other or disagreeing to a point that, I mean, I've seen families stop talking to each other just because you voted for a specific person, or just because you don't really are open-minded to possibilities that people think different like you, right? I mean, people don't really think like you, which sometimes you wish that people would actually think like you, but they don't. And that doesn't mean they're good or bad. It's just their opinion. And I guess, in my opinion, you just kind of have to respect whatever they think and let them be free and do whatever they want, you know?
You know, respect and everything is key, right?
Absolutely, yes.
I mean, especially in relationships and any kind of trato entre gente, el respeto es primordial.
Yeah.
The reason, again, why I chose you for this particular podcast, because I'm doing other podcasts with the other members of the 725.
Mm-hmm.
You know, shout out to them, and thank you for doing those podcasts.
Yeah, shout out to them. Great people.
But I knew that this subject was for you.
Oh, thank you.
You know, it's like, just like I knew the subject for Tony was going to be sports, the subject for El Mágico was going to be la magia, la religión. You know, it's like, so, por eso, pues cada quien, you know, it's like, it has their strong points, you know.
Correct.
Again, in the short time that I know you, I've learned a lot from you.
Oh, thank you.
You know, and again, you're a person that I value their opinion.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
A little bit of where you're from, as far as where you were born. Obviously, you've been asked these questions before, but just for the audience knows, like I said, when we grow up, we're instilled, just like religion, we're also instilled politics.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a little bit of your upbringing as far as politics are concerned.
As far as politics, well, you know, it's like, if I can give you a little bit of my background, I was born and raised in Durango, Mexico.
Okay.
Durango, Mexico.
Durango.
Yeah, Durango, Mexico. And I was brought up to the States at a very young age.
Right.
Yeah, I was brought up here when I was 12. we came into terms of because my oldest brother was already here. He came very young as well. And my mom brought us with the idea that we were going to come see our older brother. I think it was like 5 years that he came and we stopped seeing, of course, as the oldest, you kind of always look up to the oldest, right? And we missed him, things like that. We would talk on the phone. But I think I was very little in order for me to comprehend the going away for such a long time, right? Not as much as my mother would understand not seeing a son for 5 years, right?
Absolutely.
And of course, it's not the same, being on the phone. Back then, there was no FaceTime. There was no anything that would kind of feel or make you feel closer to your relatives, right? Right now, I mean, it's like FaceTime and, you're instant. You can see the other person and all. And you kind of get to connect a little more, even though if it's through a phone, but still, right? Back then, there wasn't anything like that.
Right.
So, funny story to me now that I understand is my mom brought us with the option of not option, but more like she brought us with the mentality of that we were gonna be here for vacation and for 2 weeks to come see my brother, and we never left, and we never left. But I guess now, to my understanding, she saw the kind of quality of life that you could potentially have here, compared to over there, right? But I didn't say that we grew up pretty poor because we didn't. I did, because we always had food, and roof over our heads and stuff.
The basic necessities.
Yeah, absolutely. But there was a couple Christmases where I was like, I want a bike. You ain't getting a bike. But I mean, I'm a kid. I don't understand.
Right.
I don't understand those kind of things. I'm just a kid. I don't understand why I can't get a bike.
Works.
Exactly. Yes. Right. And then I have siblings. I'm the youngest one out of all my siblings. I have four. In total, 4 boys, 1 girl. Right. So as long as I can remember,
that's a big household.
It is, and as long as I can remember, my mother never remarried. She just worked to maintain the household and her kids.
Right.
And it was always like work. I actually think a big part of my growing up was with my grandma. Okay. Because she was just there.
She was there.
Yeah,
she was
absolutely.
Present.
Yeah, she was present. Very tough childhood, I'll tell you that. My grandma was a very tough lady. She was like, she wanted things done a certain thing or a certain way. Right. You disobey.
Y así tenía que ser.
Yeah, you le desobedeces, and then you get hit with whatever it's on her hand. You know what I mean? And honestly, now that I'm 30, damn. It's just like now that I'm 30 and growing up, now it's like it was a hard childhood, but I appreciate it, right? I appreciate the fact that she hit me a couple or a bunch of times, right? Because I feel like those hits were like, se puede decir como aprendizajes,
sí.
Right? Now that I take a look back, son aprendizajes. ¿Por qué? Porque si yo no hubiera tenido esa disciplina desde niño, I would probably grow up to being something different or somebody else, right? Maybe if I were to be like a more spoiled kid or something, I would probably not appreciate everything that I have at the moment, right? Or I wouldn't put as much work to the things that I like to do. Came here to the States at the age of 12, not knowing nothing. Of course, the language was a barrier. I didn't know nothing.
Right.
Of course, we stayed here for the 2 weeks. I was actually in my way to be primero de secundaria. Iba a entrar ya a secundaria cuando yo me vine para acá. Entonces, cuando yo regresé aquí, I was always bugging my mom. When are we going to go back? When are we going to go back? Right. Why? Porque ya tienes tú tus amigos establecidos. Ya como que tienes una conciencia más... Sí. Ya estás un poquito... En México... creces un poco más rápido. Tienes que crecer un poquito más rápido.
Y es una etapa muy, muy difícil. O sea, esos años, o sea, es cuando you go through your little awkward stage. Yes. Mm-hmm. You're going through puberty. There's a lot of emotions. Yeah. It's like there's a lot of mucho conflicto adentro de ti. It's like, it's like you're not a kid anymore, but you're not a grown-up either. Plus, you're going through all these hormone changes.
Yes.
Just real quick, it's funny that you say that que te trajeron con promesa de unas vacaciones, around the same age, a mí me hicieron lo mismo, pero para traerme a Las Vegas.
Pero, okay.
Okay, porque pues somos de Los Ángeles, o yo soy de Los Ángeles originalmente, y no es like, ellos con ese faz de que no, que sí, que Las Vegas, las luces y la chingada, con eso nos trajeron. Y ya estando aquí, bro, it was so hard getting used to a different city. Now I can only imagine getting used to a different country.
Yeah, it honestly, like, it was tough at the beginning porque yo no sabía, like, the decision to stay wasn't on me at all,
pues no.
right? Like, I'm a kid. Like, what do I know? I don't know anything, right? And the option was not to stay or leave. It was just, we're gonna stay. We have, well, up to this point, like, yo tengo un tío, tengo un tío que ya vivía aquí. He was already established here for a long time. Y él fue el que convenció a mi hermano más grande de venirse para trabajar y para juntar dinero y todo eso. Originalmente, cuando nosotros cuando venimos para acá, we did everything legal. We went to immigration. We went to the appointment to get our visas and approved. Like, everything was, done the correct way.
So you didn't come in illegally?
No, not at all. No, everything was done the correct way because supposedly in my mom's mind, it was just 2 weeks, go back. Whenever we have another chance, another 2 weeks, come, go back, so on and so forth.
Right.
And I feel like my uncle had a little bit to play with that in order for us to stay, because my mom was receiving a lot of advice of like, try it for a month, get a job, see how you feel. The quality of life is better.
Right.
You guys are safer. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of back then there was a lot of, not as much as what it is, but había mucho narcotráfico,
Right.
You were at the risk of like, ¿qué tal que si tu hijo te sale pandillero, hang out with the wrong people? Possibilities are endless, right? When you put it that way. And then I guess my mom got convinced and she was like, well, what the hell? I don't really got nothing to lose.
O sea, le vendieron el sueño americano.
Correctamente, correctamente. Y pues como que yo pienso que mi mamá también dijo, pues siempre está la opción de regresarme, which now that I think of it, it's like everything it makes sense now, because even if you want to move states, you always have the option to go back to where you're from, right? Because I've been here in Vegas for a long, long time, for years now. And let's just say that if I were to move to Colorado, right? And if it just doesn't work out, I can always come back to Vegas. Why? Because I'm familiar. I already know. Like, what's the worst that can happen, right? I guess my mom went with that mentality of like, well, we can always go back.
Okay, got you.
We can always go back to like Durango, porque allá está mi familia, están mis hermanas, están tus tíos, tus primos, allá ya tengo un trabajo, you know what I mean? Like, things like that.
O sea, sí tomó el riesgo, but at the same time, she had a safety net.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like,
and I think that was a very big motive for her to want to try it out,
right?
Because that safety net was always there for her to be like, I'll just bounce back if it doesn't work out here, And when the worst thing that could happen was that like my kids were gonna be a little bit behind on school, but they can always do school for a little longer, things like that.
Right.
And then of course, 2 weeks passed by, and I was like, when are we gonna go back? When are we gonna go back? It's just, don't worry about it. Well, I'm arranging everything to go back. I'm buying the plane tickets, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Hey, pero es que mis amigos, ¿cómo ya no voy a ver a mis amigos, blah, blah, blah. No me siento a gusto, after 2 weeks, even after 1 week, I was kind of feeling like, I want to go.
¿Y ya te la sospechabas o cuándo te cayó el 20?
No, me cayó el 20 cuando mi mamá me dijo, ya los inscribí en la escuela. Ahí fue cuando me cayó un pinche balde de agua helada y yo dije, what do you mean? Like, ya me escribiste en la escuela. Like, what the hell? Pues ya los escribí en tu escuela. She kind of briefly said que su tío me dijo que sería una buena oportunidad para que ustedes aprendieran el lenguaje, para que ustedes se familiarizaran con el tipo de escuela que hay aquí. Y pues honestamente no teníamos opción. Yo no tuve una opción de decir, no, yo me quiero regresar. Because I wasn't even 18 for me to travel by myself.
Right.
I had conscience to be like, no, I want to go back. But he's like, they're not going to sell you a plane ticket. They're not going to let you travel by yourself. So it's like, you just got to suck it up and stay here.
Right.
Right?
En general, me gustaría saber, what are your thoughts en ese famoso sueño americano que te venden siendo, pues, you know, de otro país, ¿verdad? Porque no nomás es de México, es de todo el mundo que te venden este sueño.
Sí.
You know, ¿cuál es tu opinión de ese?
Yo pienso que el sueño americano te lo venden es una cosa muy irrealista.
Okay.
O sea, es una cosa que sí se puede lograr hacer, pero nadie te dice cuánto tienes que trabajar. Nadie te dice que tienes que venir a trabajar aquí y, por ejemplo, pongamos un inmigrante que no tiene papeles, le venden el sueño americano o piensa que aquí va a tener una mejor calidad de vida. Pero honestamente, si no trabajas aquí, no sobrevives. No tienes un lugar donde quedarte. Obviamente es muy difícil para algunas personas el sistema de agarrar una casa. Obviamente te piden muchas cosas. Hasta para rentar un lugar, o sea, te pueden pedir cierto tipo de cosas. Entonces hay muchas personas que se quedan atascadas en ese aspecto y por eso es que se van y se rentan un estudio pequeño con una persona que a lo mejor no les pide un seguro social o no les pide un récord. ¿Y qué es lo que hacen? Trabajar. ¿Para qué? Para mantener a la familia que está allá. Y trabajar para mantener a la familia que está allá. Y duran 20, 30, 40 años aquí y técnicamente no pueden hacer nada. ¿Por qué? Porque, pues, desgraciadamente no tienen los se pudiera decir como los papeles o like the resources to just do anything, you know? So I just think it's very irrealistic of people to think that you're going to come here and just automatically have a better life. You can, but it's just the amount of work that you have to put into actually the American dream is just very, very difficult and very hard, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, venir vivir ese sueño es para mejorar la vida que dejaste.
Correcto.
You know, it's like, es venir y todavía esforzarte por lo que dejaste de atrás. So, en realidad, yo conozco a mucha gente que hasta la fecha vive así. Y como dices tú, nunca hace nada en este país. Su sueño siempre es regresarse.
Correcto.
¿Verdad? Es like hacer una casa allá, es like mantener sus tierras allá, de donde somos nosotros, que las vaquitas, que sus terrenos. ¿Verdad? Es like, y pues el retiro es regresarse. Pero pues, ¿a
qué te regresas, no?
No, pues no nomás eso. Nothing guarantees that you're going to be able to go back.
Absolutely, yes. And then, you know, I feel that the absence of a parent can really affect their kid as to what they could grow up with, right?
Right.
Yo, por ejemplo, te puedo dar una opinión. Yo crecí sin papá.
Okay.
Yo no conozco a mi papá. Yo no sé cómo se llama, no sé cómo se mira. Tú sabes, mi abuela me ha dicho así como de que, mira, tu papá es así, así, así. Pero nunca me han venido y me han dicho, él es tu papá.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, it's like, I don't know my dad, right? Y yo pienso que eso psicológicamente sí te afecta, pero no le pones tanta atención porque pues estás morro, vas creciendo, hay muchas cosas que te tienes que preocupar. You know, como por ejemplo, en mi opinión, yo siempre he sido un muchacho de como tocas el tema ahorita del sueño americano. Yo siempre he sido un muchacho desde que yo tengo responsabilidad, yo he estado tratando de buscar ese sueño americano. Okay. El sueño americano para mí puede ser muy diferente como para otras personas, ¿no? Okay. Para mí el sueño americano es vivir bien, que no me haga falta nada, no preocuparme, pero tampoco estresarme. Claro. Yo no estoy buscando millones, no estoy buscando casas, ni riqueza, ni carros, ni nada, pero tampoco no quiero llegar el día en que me levante y me preocupe porque me hacen falta $200 para pagar la renta. Okay. Ese es mi sueño americano.
Right.
Y hay muchas personas que el sueño americano para ellos obviamente es, como tú dices, ¿no? Venir, trabajar y mantener y dar una mejor vida a las personas que dejaron. Ese es el sueño americano para ellos. Y hay personas que lo llegan a hacer y hay personas que desgraciadamente no lo llegan a hacer. Yo pienso que para nosotros no lo llegamos a hacer porque nosotros nos quedamos aquí y es como de que todo el mundo se tuvo que encontrar un trabajo. Mis hermanos crecieron, yo crecí. Obviamente te empiezas a encontrar un trabajo, te empiezas tus responsabilidades. Ahora tienes que pagar esto, ahora tienes que pagar lo otro. Y puta madre, empezando 8.25 la hora. Y, o sea, muy apenas si sacas para los biles, muy apenas si sacas para pagar esto. Y eso es que el mismo sistema te sigue enredando en que tienes que trabajar para sobrevivir. ¿Por qué? Porque las comodidades de hoy en día son muy caras.
Yeah.
Si yo me voy a vivir solo a una casa, te estamos hablando de que una renta no te está bajando de $1,600 o 1,700, depende en el área y depende qué es lo que quieras. ¿Tú crees que yo ganando, no sé, vamos a decir, hasta $15 la hora, por ejemplo, que en muchos de los trabajos hoy en día eso es casi lo que pagan? Una persona sola no sobrevive. O sea, ni para tus necesidades básicas sobrevive. Entonces, ¿qué sueño americano es ese?
Right.
¿Sí me explicó?
Sí, pues no es una vida, pues. No es vida, pero pues también es como dices tú, o sea, es cómo gente valora su tiempo, su vida, ¿verdad? Porque pues como te digo, para una persona es lo que primero te expliqué y para ti pues obviamente es muy
difícil, muy diferente.
Muy diferente, pero igual de difícil.
Obviamente, sí.
Igual de difícil.
Sí, porque fíjate que gracias a Dios, te toco el tema ahorita de que como yo crecí sin papá, yo pienso que el ver a mi mamá cuánto batalló para crear a una familia o sea, para mantener a una familia de 5 personas más aparte de ella, yo nunca la vi que se quejara, o sea, nunca vi que se rindiera, nunca dije, o sea, nunca vi yo eso físicamente. Entonces yo pienso que eso tuvo una buena parte en mí para yo crecer en la persona que soy ahorita. Y la persona que yo soy ahorita es de que no, ni madres. Like, everything that I do has to work because it has to work. Like, there's no plan B. ¿Por qué? Porque yo pienso que inconscientemente yo vi a mi mamá que nunca se rajó,
Yeah.
y que siempre le echó madrazos, and she found a way. Like, she found a way to always have food on the table and then some to other people that were around, you know? And up to this point, like, she still finds time and all of a sudden, bro, like, not gonna lie, like, all of a sudden, like, I open the fridge and it's food there. I don't know when she put it there. I don't know nothing, but she still finds those, you know? So it's like me that I'm older now. And if I see that, like, that motivates me to be like, fuck, like, the fuck do I have to do in order for me to not worry about those things or make her not worry about those things, right? So that's my American dream, to one day just be like, you know what? You don't have to work anymore. I got you, right? But that takes a lot of years. That takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of hard work.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are not willing to put that hard work.
Right.
And they throw themselves into the victim mentality, right? Woe was me kind of mentality. Is because I only get paid this much, so I can afford this and I can afford. And it's just like, but they're not willing to go get a second job, or they're not willing to dig themselves out of the hole that they pretty much put themselves into, right?
Right.
And since you kind of wanted to talk about politics, it kind of ties two together, right? Because nowadays politics support a lot of victim mentality mindset, you know, and I think that politics and politicians more than anything, they are rewarding the ones that cry the most, you know, with giving.
There's a saying: the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So,
yeah, absolutely. But you know, for example, if we go into a politics of the taxpayers, right? If we go into a politics of like unemployment and welfare and all those kind of things, right? The government supports all those things, right? But technically, who pays for them? Us, right. The taxpayers, the people that bust our ass, and we go out there and we fucking put in the labor, and we have to pay taxes, and illegal people have to pay taxes anyways, right. And sometimes they don't even get nothing in return, but just because they want to stay here and work, that's what they gotta do, and that's what they gotta do, right? Yep. And then there is these people that throw themselves into like, my arm hurts, so let me just go get disability, or go get unemployment, or let me just go get food stamps, or just let me go get this and that, right? But it's just like, you see them and you'll be like you can work, like you can You know, and nobody told you to have 5 kids.
Right.
Like 1 is enough, or 2 maybe, right? But nobody's telling you to go and have 6 kids. So now it's like, technically speaking, it's like I kind of have to support your kids, even though I'm not there. Right. But with my tax money, you know, and unfortunately, government supports a lot of that.
Right.
And unfortunately, we are at a point where you might want politics to change, but we don't really have the final say on anything, pretty much, you know?
You know what? It's almost like you read my mind, bro, because I was actually going to be my next question. You hit it on the head, how the politics influence everything, right? Mm-hmm. Especially, you know, things like immigration. Why? Because one side, again, this 2-party way of thinking, mm-hmm. one side supports, you know, immigration, right? Of course, legally, you know, but they're willing to put in, you know, the effort to help these people, you know, and they might be a squeaky wheel, mm-hmm. you know, but like you said, these people also contribute a lot to this country.
Correct.
It's crazy to hear people like Joe Rogan say like, all these illegal immigrants. It's like, bro, like you're in the fight industry, you know, it's like you were in LA for so long, mm-hmm. You know, it's like Tupac said, it wouldn't be LA without Mexicans.
That is true.
You know, it's like, I don't know if we make the whole world go round. I was like, but I think immigrant labor does. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And not only that, it's like, it's not that I'm one side or another, but I feel like that's a cause that's worth it. Mm-hmm. You know, as far as that's concerned, I know that, you know, the struggle to agarrar esos famosos papeles.
It's tough.
It's very tough. And, yes. And it's a process that you have lived. And thank God, you know, congratulations, you're a U.S. citizen now.
Thank you.
How is that process like?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to kind of like piggyback on what you were saying about the immigration things, I think that big corporations manipulate a lot of politics or things like that, because there always has to be an incentive for somebody, right? Mm-hmm. There's always have to be an incentive for something. They say what is, I don't know if it's a saying or whatever, but not a lot of things, like nothing is free in this world. Nothing is free in this world. That's right? Correct. So basically, I feel, and this is my own personal opinion, but this is what I've been thinking.
And that's what I'm worried about, bro. I want to hear what you think.
This is my own personal opinion. My opinion on immigration, it's 50-50, because of course it's like, I mean, technically I came as an immigrant, or I stayed as an immigrant. I came illegally, but I became an immigrant after, you know, some time. And I know how hard it is to try to find a job and you can't, and you kind of have to suck it up with what you find, and have to deal with assholes that think they're the boss even though they're not, and you have to accept whatever pay they give you, and you know, things like that, and you have to work a little harder than other people to kind of like earn $2 or $3 more. I've been on that side of the coin, and it's not pretty. And also now forward, you know, I was able to get my papers, but at the same time, when immigration, it all comes down to cheap labor. Right. I feel like that's my I can't really do anything on that, because my personal opinion is just cheap labor. There's always somebody building something that they're not willing to pay this much amount of time or money because it's too expensive, and do it the right way. So guess what? Your immigrants here, or, you know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Mexican, but Hispanics, you know, and people from other countries, they're like, well, they know how to do the same thing, maybe a little less safer, but I get to save thousands and thousands of dollars. So let me go for this route, right? And that big company is just, they're not going to want immigrants to just bounce. Why? Because who's going to give them the houses? Who's going to build the houses? Who's going to build the skyscrapers? And you know, unfortunately, people that are here in this country, or were born into this country, they're not willing to sacrifice cheap labor for a dangerous roofing job, being outside 150 degrees, you know, because they expect to get paid, I don't know, a certain amount of money, right?
And they want insurance, and they want a 2-hour lunch.
Yeah, exactly. and honestly, I'm guilty of that. When I was you know, when I was illegal here in this country, like, I'm guilty of that. I made the same thing. You know why? Because technically I had no option. I had to work and I had to support myself and I had to, you get instilled in your Hispanic household that as long as, as soon as you start to work, you have to contribute something to the house.
Right.
And what is the first thing that you got to pay your rent?
Right.
You got to pay rent. You got to pay rent. And I've been paying rent since I can remember. And it's so normal to me. But at the same time, it's like I've been guilty of accepting cheap labor because I had no other option, right?
Right.
But now it's like there is alternatives. I feel that, the process that the question that you asked me now that I'm in the other side of the coin, now that I'm a citizen and all that stuff, I appreciate more the fact that I can go and apply anywhere, anytime. If I don't like a job, like I do have the option to be like, nah, I'm out of here. I don't appreciate this job, right? But also it's because it's like, brother, like I go through my journey and it's like, no, I sacrificed a lot of shit. I dealt with a lot of assholes in the past. I dealt with a lot of managers that think that they're the boss and they're not, and they just want to manhandle you and fucking throw you around because they've been in the company for 20 years and you come the fresh one with bright ideas and you want to outshine them in their own job. And they don't like that. Yeah. Y no les gusta y te quieren tratar como si fueras un pendejo, un tonto.
You're in the Grizzly show, bro. Aquí
te quieren pendejear, te quieren decir, no, tus ideas, no, ¿sabes qué? No, aquí se hace esto y se ha hecho esto desde hace mucho tiempo y así tiene que ser. Right. Entonces, yo ya pasé y lidié y me aguanté.
Okay.
Entonces, ahora yo me puse una mentalidad y yo dije, ¿qué tengo que hacer yo para sobresalir en este mundo tan competitivo? Porque siempre hay alguien mejor que tú en todo lo que tú hagas. No importa lo que sea, siempre hay alguien mejor que tú. Y yo dije, bueno, ¿qué tengo que hacer yo para categorizarme una persona valuable para una compañía o para ser una persona que sea muy difícil de reemplazar? Well, you gotta put in the work.
You know what? Hay otro dicho. El que es chile en cualquier salsa pica. Con papeles,
o
sin papeles.
Yeah.
Si eres gallo.
Sí.
Yeah, it's like,
o como es el otro dicho que el que es cotorro o el que es perico, ¿qué? Donde
no,
sea,
el que es gallo en cualquier granja canta.
Sí. O el que es perico donde seas verde, or something like that. Whatever. Put it on the comments. Just leave it on the comments and stuff.
The point is que como tú has vivido de los dos lados, that makes very little difference as far as your worth ethic is concerned, right? Mm-hmm. But another thing, it doesn't matter as far as politics is concerned. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you fall on. It's unrealistic that this country could be run and maintain itself without illegal immigrant labor.
Yes, this whole country was built with illegals. Even, and I don't want to generalize a certain people, but ethnicity or anything like that. But technically speaking, bro, if we go to a little bit of history and if we go to now the very back of the tail, it's like even white people are immigrants, brother, because they come from British people.
They're the first immigrants.
Yeah, they're the first immigrants. So it's just like, and I get it. It's been passed down to generations and generations that some people that were here from a long time that they probably don't know their history. They're the ones saying, you go back to your country, you go back. But it's just more like brother, like if you research a little bit, like we all immigrants. I mean, if you want to talk about who was here first, you got to go to the natives. You got to go to the Indians, like deep down in the mountains, Cherokee tribes and, like more like that.
And look what they did to them. You know what I mean? It's like,
exactly.
It's like genocide.
But we go back to the same thing, bro. Like we unfortunately don't have control of the government. We don't have control where our tax money goes. We don't have control of what gets decided and what don't. I strongly believe that they put this facade of people that you get to pick and choose what legislation and the vote and this and that. But I think that it's just already been decided.
I think democracy is like a lot of other styles of running a country. it ends up being corrupted because that's what we do as humans.
It has to.
You know, and it's like nothing's perfect in life, and even this democratic system that we live under is not perfect. It's not only perfect, but it seems right down unfair. You know, because it doesn't come down to the popular vote, because that's what democracy should be.
Yeah,
the popular vote.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like it goes to the electoral vote. You know, it's like what states have more points. It's like, well, that's not democracy then.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and on the other side, like we talk about immigration, how those squeaky wheels also get a lot of help. And yes, it's true.
Correct.
You know, there is people that come here and try to take advantage of the system, right?
Correct.
But on the other side, on the Republican side, they're helping these rich assholes that get richer and pay less taxes.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like there's also that side.
Yeah, I mean, and it has been like this for a long time. You know, the richer always get richer and the poor get poorer, right? And I think the government has always tried to erase the middle class. If you really think about it, there's really no middle class right now. You know, there's really no middle class. There's no, if you don't live with 2 or 3 people in a house, like you can barely afford living.
Not gonna make it.
You're not gonna make it, or you have to work 2 jobs in order for you to barely even make it. And a smaller studio where you probably just only have a bed and a dresser, and that's it, right? That's it. And it's just like, how can you call that middle class? You can't. You can't. I mean, I think, for example, it's a very good thing that people stay unite and people families in this per se. The families stick together because they're able to help out each other. You know, for example, like I live with my mom and my siblings, and we all pay a share to maintain the household, right? But that for example, like if you know how to take advantage of that, like you can do a lot of things. Right. But it's just about like the mentality that you're gonna have, right? Are you gonna just be like, well, I don't know, I just pay my rent, for my room, let's just throw $600, for example, right? And that's technically your only responsibility, because maybe you have a decent car, and that's pretty much your biggest bill, right? And it's just like, now I have maybe like $900 to just kind of play around with. And then there's a lot of people that just have $900 to blow it off. Or there is the difference about people that have $900 that would want to do more with that. And for example, like, you know, for me, that I invested in a camera, in a lens, in a microphone, in this and that, like little things here and there, in order for me to be able to build something, to not depend on somebody to tell me that you have to be there at 6 o'clock, or if not, you get in trouble. Right. You know, but it's just really about your approach. And you know, I think politics or government, even at that, make it really difficult because of just basic needs of living, you know? There is technically no need for this big inflation that is happening right now. There was no need to, honestly, but it was just a lack of poor management from government, in my opinion. They just printed way too much money, and now they don't know what to do with it. Exactly. So now they have to raise pretty much everything up. And unfortunately, we're the ones paying for it, right? And it's just more like, you mean to tell me that the Pentagon just lost $1.6 billion and they don't know where it's at? Like, they can't track it? Like, it just
disappeared,
gone? Like, where? How? Did they burn? Like, no, we can't. We can't burn. I don't know. Nothing. You tell me 1.5 or $6 billion. It's just poof. Like, how you can trust your government when your government is the one that's causing all these problems, you know? Yeah. And it's just like, oh, but the IRS wants to know my $600 in my bank account for me to go and put it, because if not, then I'm just going to fucking get a tax, whatever. This is like bullshit. Well, this is like, what am I going to do with $600? Like, that's my fucking rent right now. Right. Like, I can't do nothing with $600. So it's just like,
and $6 billion disappeared.
But 1.6 billion, they're just going to boom.
Oh, 1.6
yeah, and nobody knows where they're at.
Right.
You know?
And we're talking about the greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
Which I believe that we do live in. But bro, it's like I said, you know, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, it's
absolutely.
like, so it's hard. I mean, just the history again. You know, you're touching on history as far as immigration is concerned. But what about the history of this government? Mm-hmm. You know, how many times haven't they put the best interests of their people? You know, it's like we could go into conspiracy theories all day, bro. 9/11, you know, Kennedy's.
I don't even think those things are conspiracies anymore. You know, I don't even think those things are conspiracies. Right? They're proven because here's the thing, though. Me personal, I'm a very curious person. I like to ask, and I don't give a fuck who you are.
We should.
I'm gonna ask.
Right.
Until I don't know exactly what I want to know, I won't stop looking. And when I get into a subject, bro, I get into a fucking subject.
Right.
And I just fucking rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole. But that's information and it's knowledge, right? You can believe that it's true or you can believe that it's a conspiracy. But the saying goes that a lot of people that become conspiracy theorists is because they end up to be true most of the time. You know,
right.
And they want to suppress that information by calling it conspiracy, right? Because you never really know if it's going to be true or not. But I mean, now that a lot of people are becoming more awake and people are actually looking for information, because now the government seems like they don't give a fuck, bro. Like they just don't. They just put everything out there like if it's a piece of cake, you know,
gangster
like
motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Bro.
Like they're not hiding what they're doing now. It's just more like, you know, yeah, we're doing this, but we're doing it in the name of America.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah.
Right.
And it's just like, so you mean to tell me that you sent $100 billion to Ukraine, but you can't help your people in Philly on the streets because they're addicted to drugs, but you can even take them, put like a center of help or something. But you mean to tell me that you're going to help people that are not even in this country to fight a war that you kind of don't have nothing to do with this? And it's just like insane, right? And it's just like, in the meantime, my cereal is fucking $10, bro. And it's just like, I just want some Cheerios, bro. It's just like, I don't want to pay $10 for a fucking gallon of milk and $10 for a box of cereal. And you're sending $100 billion to a fucking country where I'm probably never going to go. Or right. You know, the average people won't even end up going.
Well, no, like, it's like you said, that has nothing to do with us. It has
nothing to do with us, yeah.
You know, it's like, and especially has nothing to do with our everyday lives.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that war is happening not only so far away, but between two countries, and neither one of them ever been very upright and, you know, something that you could model, you know, or you would want to model a government after, because everybody looks at the Ukraine like the victim, right?
Yeah.
Because it's big bad Putin. You know, it's like, it's big bad, you know, it's like, you know,
but they don't do the research. They don't investigate. They don't do the research. Why? Because we go back to the same thing. It's not about the governments. It's about the media. What kind of media you're looking for? Like, we all know that the media is controlled by somebody. You know, right. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. 6 people in the world. I think 6 people in the world control all the media in the entire world. I would say universe, but I don't think they have TVs on Mars or something, right?
Oh, I asked last time.
Yeah, but I believe that it's 6 people that control whatever, like the whole media in the world, whatever you want.
I kind of got goosebumps right now. Because I've heard, because I heard this other thing. Yeah. That it's kind of the same thing, but I think it was dumbed down. That 5 people have the keys to the internet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like in the world. So
it's 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Either
you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, but it's kind of close. You know what I mean? It's like, and like you said, it might be a conspiracy, but most conspiracies end up being.
There is a video out there in the internet. I don't know how you can find it, but pretty much it's like there's a lot of news outlets from all over the country and different states and different networks and everything, but they go side by side, all of them saying the exact same thing, and it's fucking scary because you look at it and it's like a screen full of like little screens of all the news outlet, and it's like about 100 in total.
They're all saying the same shit.
It's just like you're just hearing one single voice,
right?
And you're just like, damn, that's how controlled the media is, right? So for the average people, or for the people like older people, for example, that they get to look at the TV more often, and they see that, and then they'll be like, well, the news said that, you know, Trump is fucking doing this or Biden is doing that. Then they'll be like, oh yeah, fuck that guy because the news said so. And it's just like,
So in this country, and I'm glad you touched on media, because in this country, even the media is divided, right?
Absolutely.
CNN goes one side, Fox News goes on the other side, right? Mm-hmm. Before, you know, maybe in our parents' or grandparents' days, what you saw on the news was facts. You know, it's like you didn't question it. Like you just said, like
people don't question nothing anymore.
You know, it's like, but now, you know, we are creators of content.
Absolutely.
And we are in the frontier of this new media, bro.
Yeah.
You know, we're the trailblazers. Sorry que me incluya, but we're the trailblazers of this new media.
Yeah.
You know, what do you see, or do you see this free media helping?
Well, I don't know if you're aware or not, but I think 2 days ago, a bill just got proposed to ban TikTok on the United States only. You know, I think they just brought it up 2 days ago to ban TikTok from the United States entirely.
Weren't they trying to do that before? Because it was from China or something? They
were, and then I guess the owner of TikTok went and did an explanation or whatever. But I think, and again, we talked about conspiracies and things like that. This is my opinion only. And I'm not saying that this is true. I'm not saying nothing like that. It's just my personal opinion.
Caesar,
right?
We're here to listen to what you got to say, what you're thinking.
I'm just saying because there's radical people out there that will be like, no, you fucking guy, this fucking guy. And this is like, no, this is just what I think.
Right.
But I feel that TikTok is an avenue because it's not controlled by the United States. It's an avenue for people to tell the truth and really what's happening out there. So the more things that you put in the content of like telling the truth, and certain people don't want the truth to be out, they're going to do everything in their power to shut that down, right? And I think for a lot of creators that do tell the truth, and podcasters that do actually do the research and tell the truth about what's happening in the government and things like that, you know, whistleblowers, stuff like that. I think they just want to suppress all that information, because the more you suppress, the more control you have towards your people, right? The more things you cut out from the knowledge of other people, the more gain you have over them. Why? Because we are the government. The government really cares for you.
Right.
Yeah, they really do, right? But here's the thing, though. We go back to the same thing, you know, being podcasters, you being a podcaster yourself, and you want to talk about these things. It's just like, we're not saying that this is the truth, but this is an opinion that it's starting to get normalized with other people. And I'm pretty sure, and I'm 100% sure that it's just not only me that thinks this way, right? But we are the wrong people for thinking this way. Why? Because you're going against your government. And it's just like, it's just my opinion, brother. Like, it's just me. But
we're in the land of the free, right?
Absolutely. But now even that, it's getting suppressed, because it's just like they're trying to put all this terminology that, you know, you're affecting other people, and your opinion is harmful to whatever. And, you know, you shouldn't be saying those things because you're going to confuse other people. We go back to the same, and to go on a subject a little bit more delicate, the government supports a lot of transgenderism. You know, the government supports a lot of, you know...
las letras.
Las letras. And it's just more like the government supports a lot of like... pretty much the kids have the decision of making their own choices to see if they want to get hormone treatment or if they want to chop their dick off and stuff like that. It's just like... And you know, it's just like, no, like your kid is 5, brother. Like, your kid is 5. They don't. What the fuck are they gonna be like? Oh yeah, I want to be a girl. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny? That those kids can't drink, can't drive, can't vote.
Yeah, but they're
able to decide.
I want to be a girl.
Yeah.
This is like I get it. Like, I get it. You know, maybe I played Barbies with my sister when I was younger. Maybe I did that. You know,
I did for sure, bro.
But just to play, you know. Yeah. But I don't think I want to be a girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now it's like you have it on your schools. You have it on the news. You have the movies. You have you have series. You have songs. You have. Everything is just more out there, and it's getting difficult for you to control what your kid watches, because you can control it at your household, right? But you can't control it what you see on the outside. Like, maybe you have a little kid that does think that way because they just think that way, and then now you get instilled into your kid, And maybe you don't want that in your household. Maybe I'm not saying that you're against it, but maybe you just don't want that in your household.
You're more conservative.
You're more conservative. You're just a traditional person. You know, you want your kid to be a normal kid. But now it's just like, imagine you take your kid to school and then your teacher is telling you like, yeah, you don't have nothing, like you don't have any say in here because I'm the teacher and I'm going to educate your kid on showing them a book of two people having sex. It's just like, I don't even know if I want my kid to go to that school. But then we run into a problem where if you don't take your kid to school, the police are gonna come for you, and now you're in fucking trouble. And what are you gonna do?
You know, one thing that we lost with that generation that would believe everything they saw on the news, bro, was boundaries.
Boundaries.
You know, it's like I raise my kid, you just teach them. You know, what my question is how, if any, benefits do you see in this new media?
No, very little. Honestly, there is very little information that I can tell you that it's consumable on TV. Shout out to my Hispanics that still watch novelas.
Right.
Probably that's the only thing that's good on TV.
As new media is YouTube, TikTok, you know, these places or these platforms where an absolute dumbass could just get on a mic and I'm talking about myself, can get on a mic and talk. You know, it's like, so, but nobody's telling me what to say.
Yeah.
You know, los temas de estos podcasts son temas prohibidos, right? No nomás porque son temas that people argue about, but traditional media won't touch. You know, it's like they won't touch certain subjects. You know, it's like I feel like I've learned a lot ever since I was a kid. Like I learned more from PBS and stuff like that.
Curious George.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, and the other shows, you know, like the Ken Burn shows and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that I did in school. You know why? Because they were not so censored or controlled by one side or the other, right?
Correct.
Now we have the opportunity with the new media. You know, it's like to state our truth. You know, it's like to inform people of maybe it's just our opinion, you know, but like you said, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that, bro, they're feeling everything that you're saying right now.
Absolutely. And honestly, like with this new media, there is a lot of benefits for us that we are small creators and we don't really have a big voice. It's good, right? Because we don't really, like the few people that are probably going to watch this podcast or the millions of people that are going to watch this podcast, they're probably going to be like, they're just that, right?
Right.
But we talk about a little bit more famous people, right? You familiar with Andrew Tate?
Yes.
You know who that guy is, right?
I know of him. I've never seen any of his content.
Okay.
But I know of him. I have a general idea of who he is.
My favorite guy in the world. I'll tell you like a little thing. It's just not, it's like, for example, he was very vocal. He was very vocal about corrupt governments. You know, he gave a lot of, you know, he was very controversial. He's a very controversial person. He talked about a lot of like, you know, why people shouldn't be gay, you know, things like that.
Right.
It was comedic, it was informative, but sometimes it was a little overboard, but sometimes it was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense, you know. And then he started speaking more about against government and why government do what they do, things like that, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, when you start being influential with people, even in this new media, what's going to happen? They're going to ban you. They're gonna say that you're throwing too much hate, that you're gonna that your videos are probably confusing little kids, that little kids shouldn't be watching your content,
right?
You know, things like that. So what does big media do? Like
censor you,
ban this guy,
right.
Censors you. So even this new media, like you can still get restricted. You can still, you know, they can delete your account just because they want to delete your account.
I mean. Talking about conspiracies, Alex Jones.
Yeah, he's
how example.
He's been banned for years on social media. He can't never get back on social media for what? For speaking the truth. Yeah, for speaking the truth. I mean that Bohemian Grove video that he released.
Right.
That's nothing but the truth. But what are you going to do? You can't really go against the whole entire government. So what is the easiest thing to do? We're going to shut you. We're going to shut you down, and we're gonna do as much as we can in order for people to think that you're the crazy one. We're going to make this article that says that you are this kind of person, and we're going to try to accuse you of and this is true to if we really try to get conspiratorial, right? Andrew Tate said, when you are doing those kind of things, you have 3 lives, right? The first one is they ban you. They shut you down. They erase your accounts, everything, right? The second one, if you keep doing the same thing, the second one is like they try to put you on jail for something that you didn't commit. Either, sex abuse or trafficking or whatever the case.
Oh, they'll make something
up in order for to put you in jail, right?
Right.
And if we go back to conspiracy theories, like when people spoke up against the government, what was the thing that happened to them, right? They started come up with articles about like, he had sex with somebody that wasn't supposed to, or he's involved into something like that. I mean, JFK was very anti-governmental. He wanted to erase the CIA and he wanted to ban the FBI. Correct. And what happened to him? He got shot.
Dome shot.
He got shot. Like, all of a sudden he got shot, and now little by little it's coming out that, CIA, FBI, all those big corporations and governments that have a lot of influence into the government, they decide exactly what goes down and what doesn't, in order for them to cover their funds and to run their agendas, And CIA has been known to run a lot of underground programs from development of this and that, and nobody knows nothing about the CIA. But the CIA says this person is sex trafficking. Oh, okay, we must believe that. But
I mean, J. Edgar Hoover was one of the biggest gangsters that ever lived. He was the head of the FBI for a very long time.
Yeah,
one of his biggest detractors was JFK.
Yeah,
and again, bro, like we could fall into a rabbit hole.
Absolutely.
It's like with the CIA, the crack epidemic, the AIDS epidemic in the 80s.
Yeah. It's a never-ending subject.
It's never ending.
But I strongly believe that's what I strongly believe that the government really wants that. In order for us to have a bunch of things to talk about that we just end up giving up about, like, you know what, like we're never gonna know, so who the fuck cares, But I think that it's very that you should be active with the things that you consume, right? For me, for example, before believing something from the government, I try to do my research and I try to just dig a little bit, deeper than most, because I want to believe. I only want to put information in my brain that I know it's beneficial for me, right? I don't want to believe or think on anything that takes away power from my own mind. Right. So it's just like we go back to, government, rewards people with depression. Why? Because, oh my God, I'm depressed. Okay, well, yeah, you go take therapy and this and that. And then you go take therapy and the therapist is like, oh, you're depressed. I'm going to fucking give you this pill. Instead of actually curing what is wrong with you, And then they just, what happens? They get addicted to this fucking oxys and this prescription, that prescription, and now it turns into something much deeper than that,
There's more money in the treatment than there is in the remedy.
Yeah, because even big pharma, they're never gonna cure whatever you have, because the more money they can get from your insurance and the more money they can get from you,
that's it's not productive for them.
No, because then they'll fucking go broke.
It's counterproductive to heal you.
So that's why they banned this whole information about ancestral, medicine and herbs and everything natural and all that stuff. It's like maybe 1,000 years ago, or our ancestors weren't using fucking Ozempic to lose weight.
Right.
Why? Because they weren't eating what the fucking government is feeding you now. They're not putting all these fucking chemicals into the food. They had chicken just being a fucking chicken, not chicken with hormones and this to make it fat, to make it taste better, to make this blah, 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 blah. And then come out with like fake meat to replace real meat and full of chemicals and full of this and that. So it's just like, I understand why people give, government gives you all that bullshit, because in order... The dumber they keep you, the more control they have over you. Right. And governments have always been about, since the Roman times, about divide and conquer. Right. There's always something to divide. There's always vaccine, no vaccine, right? So what happened with those people? Oh, you're not vaccinated. Get away from me. You know, oh, you're not wearing a mask. Mask, no mask. Oh, you're not wearing a mask. Get out. Oh, you're gonna, you know, white versus black. Oh, you know, black people are always fucking stealing this and that. Well, white people are racist. So now you have divide, right? Now you go Hispanics with promoting gangs, right? So this gang versus that gangs. But at the end of the day, they're both Hispanic. They both fucking grew up with the same, you know what I mean? But it's just the fact that me versus that no, I gotta fucking win because of this. It's just the nature of competitive people.
It's human nature to have competition.
Absolutely.
And to be at odds with something, you know, and like you just said, when we don't find the obvious, like maybe race, color, gang, you know, it's like when we don't find the obvious, we look for other things.
Yeah.
You know, I think you answered my question. A lifelong question that I had is why there's only two main, you know, parties.
Divide and conquer.
Exactly.
Divide and conquer. That's pretty much what it is, you know, because it's they call it I don't know, it's something programming. It's just negative programming or whatever you want to call it, right? But it's just more about since you were a birth, you were programmed with some kind of mentality, right? From your parents for whatever, right? But they don't teach color. They just tell you that you're white.
Right.
But I mean, it's just like, you know, I see you kind of like a little creamy and stuff like that, right?
Got a little bit of spice in you.
Bit, yeah, absolutely. But it's just more like color to you. It's just a way of thinking because that's what was instilled in you since you were a kid, right? I'm brown, or whoever's brown, and they're like, no, you're black. Brother, black and brown is a different color, right? and even at that, but it's just like now you go with the mentality of like you being programmed since you were a little kid that you were black, and that's just pretty much it. But if nobody ever in your life told you that you were black, that thing would probably never be in your mind. If you just grew up a kid with nothing, nobody told you, hey, you're black. You probably wouldn't even think that you're like fucking I'm black or white or Hispanic.
That's where we might disagree because I think bias is human nature.
Yeah.
I think you typically are drawn to people that are like you.
Absolutely.
You know, and there is a certain comfort, you know, it's like, and people that are like-minded, you know, for example, this podcast, you know, it's like, I do it in Spanglish. You know, it's like because there's people that are going to be able to relate.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like yes. I'm not, you know, going after a Spanish demographic or an English demographic. I'm going to the demographic that's like me. You know, and it's not because of bias, but it's because I feel like people could relate.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. Let me just counter that for a little bit. Why? Because since you were a kid, you were install that into your mind.
Okay.
Right? And you know that you grew up in both, like you can target those two audiences. Why? Because of Spanglish. Because you know Spanish, because your parents taught you Spanish since the beginning, and then you grew up learning English, right? Pero si tú vivieras en México desde chiquito y nadie llega y te dice, tú tienes que aprender inglés, te apuesto todo lo que tú quieras a que ni una palabra de inglés tú supieras.
Right.
Si una persona no te llega y te dice, si tú creces en México toda tu vida, hay muy pocas personas que te saben hablar el lenguaje inglés. Y eso porque lo aprenden en la escuela o a lo mejor ellos quieren estudiar por su propia cuenta. Pero si te vas a un pueblito, un pueblito cualquiera en la Ciudad de México o en Durango, hasta yo te puedo decir en Durango, yo me voy a un pueblito cualquiera y nadie, o que yo sepa, las veces que yo me he encontrado, muy pocas personas te saben hablar inglés. ¿Por qué? Porque nunca fueron educados en ese lenguaje y nunca fueron enseñados a aprender inglés. Okay. Entonces volvemos a lo mismo desde chico, ¿no? O sea, si a mí nadie me haya dicho, tú eres mexicano, simplemente sabes español, pero si a mí nadie me haya dicho, y obviamente estamos hablando de un imposible, ¿verdad? Pero, o sea, si lo tiramos en otra galaxia, a lo mejor en otro universo, si alguien llega y te dice, nunca te habla de dónde eres, nunca te habla nada de tu nacionalidad ni nada, maybe you're going to be like, well, you know, I don't know. Oh, I'm Mexican? Really? Oh, I didn't know that. But because but we go back to the same thing. I mean, you grow up, you start looking for people that to connect, blah blah blah. Eventually, you'll find out, right? But I'm just saying though that programming gets into everybody in the world. If that programming gets into everything, like, I mean, if we even want to get deeper into fucking conspiracies, like the music industry, I strongly believe that, and like I said, this is my opinion. I strongly believe that this government is run by people that believe in Satan, like Satanism. Like, I really do believe that a lot it's this country is very satanic. This country is very, the people that run this country, unfortunately, they believe in different things that we believe, or majority of people believe. And I think we see it on the music industry. We see it on things that they want to promote. Whoever sings about, I can curse, right?
Oh, you want, buddy?
Yeah. I mean, whoever sings about pussy and ass and drugs and money and killing.
Hopefully it's wet ass pussy.
But even that.
Right.
Where are they at right now?
Right.
And fucking #1 charts. You know what I mean? But people that sing about Christ and romantic music and stuff like that, hardly ever people would know about them. Right. And they're great musicians out there. But unfortunately, if they don't start promoting what the agenda wants them to promote, they don't get the exposure, they don't get the views, they don't get the money, it's very hard for them. So you see all this, it's just conspiracies, right? But I mean, you see all these concerts, you see Super Bowls. Like, if you start really peeking into like the symbols and the hand gestures and the what's on the floor and the clock and you start getting to, you'll be like, damn. That's like a ritual right there. You know what I mean? But that's what they promote. Why?
So I think we've given the people an earful, a lot of things to think about.
Man, we could keep talking about.
And we could keep going for hours, and that's the truth.
That's my jam, brother. That's my jam.
I mean, if possible, there might be a part 2 or 3 of this.
Absolutely.
Right now, bro, I would like to again thank you, bro, because I think you really made me realize, about the whole division, bro, and conquer. It's like, so like the 2-party now makes more sense. If they're all Satanists, it's like, obviously it's like, what, that doesn't matter to them. Now we are in an election year. Have you ever had the opportunity to vote?
Not yet.
Okay.
This probably will be the first time ever.
Would you vote?
Do I want to say this publicly or not?
I don't know.
Honestly, yes. I feel like voting.
I'm not gonna ask who you're gonna vote for.
No. But I mean, I feel like voting is like, if you feel comfortable about that, you should go out there and vote, because believe it or not, you don't really make a difference, but you do kind of make a difference. You know what I mean? Okay. It's like, it does kind of matter. Like, it does matter to a point,
Yeah.
But to really put it into a sense of like your vote is going to really make a difference,
right?
I really don't think so. But yeah, go out there and
try
vote.
it out. No?
Yeah, do your thing, feel better for yourself. Yeah. If it's an activity that you would like to experience, go out there, vote, do your thing. I strongly believe that there is good people. There is good people in the government. There is people that do want better for this country. There is people fighting the bigger fight, there's always good against bad. There is, if there's evil, there has to be something good, right? And I strongly believe that, everything will be turned out okay if we don't get hit by an asteroid or something. I think we should be all right.
You know what? I like your outlook. It's like, it's very positive.
It is, because
and that's good.
Here's the thing: before we shut down this episode, or before we close down this episode, right, I would like to let people know that whatever you want your reality to be, be that. Like, do that, right? If you want your reality to be consumed with media, bad news, worries, stress, and all that stuff, and you consume a lot of that, that's all your reality. Your reality is going to be pictured with all those things, right? But if you don't consume that media, if you don't listen to that negative message, if you don't think about that negative whatever, if you don't consume any negativity or even music and stuff like that, like your reality is going to be way, way different. If you're more positive, you put more intuition into the things that you do. And if you put your 100%, there is no way that things are going to go bad for you.
Hell
you know,
bro.
If you put your 100% on everything you do, doesn't matter if you fucking clean toilets, be the best toilet cleaner in the world. There's no way that things are not going to get bad for you, or you're at least going to get promoted to fucking something else, right? But if you give you 100% on everything, there's no chance that things are going to go bad for you. No chance, you know? But be that reality, you know, create your own reality. You're the master of your path. You're the master of your life. Don't let outside people or negative thoughts to consume you and create something that you're not, you know, just be you. Well, at all times.
With that message from hopefully who one day would be our next president.
Hopefully.
mi compa, muchas gracias, bro.
Un placer para mí.
Que no sea la última vez, bro, because we have a lot of stuff to
Cuando
dig
me
into.
invites, yo encantadísimo.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you guys listening. You know, again, these are our opinions. If you're going to get mad, if you agree, whatever you're going to do, make sure that you put it in the comments, all right? And with that, we're out.
There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you again. Thank you.
Yeah. Pa' mi gente, el original, el papá de los demás. Y pa' que no les quede duda, se los voy a deletrar. Soy el Gr1zzly, soldado mexicano al grito de guerra. Porta Loki, Witch, la Bochli, que a mí me vale verga. El mexicano es tan chingón, él escoge donde nace. Güero, ojos verdes, pero